How's it going, guys? This is the second video for today. I'm back home and I'd like to talk about amplification for your processor. No, not the food processor, the guitar processor. So as I'm picking up bits and pieces of info, I'm sharing it with you guys. To be honest, this is still very much new to me, but I'm loving it so far. I am. It's very difficult to kind of break out of the old-fashioned mindset. It's just as it was probably difficult for people who first discovered emails. Like, what the hell is that? I can just write letters. Anyway, trust me on this one. So, a processor like the Line 6 Helix or any other Boss processor or your Fractal or whatever the fuck. The whole point of it is it's supposed to simplify your setup. To have a Helix and then run a bunch of pedals in the loops, in my opinion, that's stupid. That's just my opinion. In my experience, and again, take it with a grain of salt, I took you, if you go back and rewatch my older videos, I took you through the whole process of me first getting it, being frustrated with it, and now loving it. So if you don't believe me, go and watch the videos. The whole thing about the Helix is that if it doesn't sound good, you have not tweaked it long enough. My main sound, my basic DS1 distortion by Boss into a Fender amp took me over a week. And I'm constantly tweaking my sounds. And the more I use my Helix, the better it sounds. And I recorded an album during the quarantine on this Helix, and people could not believe it. It's digital software emulations of analog gear. So anyway, let's get going. So your processor, in my ideal world, and that's what you should be striving for, is it replaces all of it. Your pedals, your loopers, your multiple amplifiers. Use the damn processor. And the advantages are as follows. Once you set up your sound, it always sounds the same. Every single time you play a gig, you will always have the same exact results. And amps are always different. They are never the same. The tubes can be more messed up, less messed up. And there are even different brands of vacuum tubes, obviously. Speakers can be more broken in, less broken in. I have been using, for example, this is prior to me switching over to the evil digital side. I remember after one of the shows, nothing changed. My pedals were exactly the same. The sound guy came to me. He's like, you know what? Tonight I really had to boost you during our solos. Your solos were not cutting through. Just goes to show you. But with the processor, it's the same night after night after night, minus the deadening of your strings. Everything else is the same. So, I digress. The whole point is to stop using your pedals, use the processor, send the left channel and the right channel to the front of the house, and it always sounds the same. And be prepared to spend time, and if you have a friend who's a sound guy, make sure that your sound guy friend is happy with the outputs. So the left and the right are always the same. The sound guy is happy, it's EQ'd correctly, and then you need to be able to hear yourself during the performance. So let's take a look at my settings. So we're looking at the global settings of the Helix, and if you use any other processor, I'm very sure you have similar settings. So the main thing is that there are different volume output levels. The lowest one is microphone, then after that it's instrument, and after that is line. Line is the hottest of the three output levels. And that's it. So I was told by my sound guy friend to set the XLR outputs. These are the outputs that are going to the front of the house to the mic level. The sends and returns I'm not using, and for me, the 1/4 inch out is set to the instrument level. That's pretty much it. So let's talk about knobs, volume knob. So in my global settings, and if you don't believe me, go rewatch the older video of mine. This knob controls the 1/4 inch output only. XLR outputs are static, they don't change. They're always set to the microphone level output. Alright, so go watch my older video about my configurations, but basically I do it like this. The volume knob, the big ass volume knob, controls, as you understand, the 1/4 inch output, which is my personal monitor mix and nothing else. So if I don't hear myself loud enough, I can simply crank up my 1/4 inch output with the giant volume knob, and that's it. It does not affect the front of the house at all. The front of the house, you just need to have a friend who's a sound guy, or basically, or if you are yourself a sound person, you need to make sure that it's the most kind of unbiased signal. All the frequencies are there. It's not overly bassy or overly trebly. And that's it. Now let's talk amplification. This is my my PV Classic 30, one of the few last remaining amps in existence that were made in the US of A. And these are my studio level mixing monitors. Alright, so processors and the Helix, for example, are too powerful for their own good. It's very much possible to set up your sound that is going to be completely unusable. It's going to be too bass heavy or too brittle, and it really helps if you have a friend who's a sound person to help you, to guide you through the whole process. There are too many parameters that you can mess up. But after I spent time with my friend, the sound guy, it's just a breeze. It's so worth it. Every single piece of equipment is slightly different, so you need to find a compromise. For example, the FRFR, the full range flat response speaker by Headrush, is extremely bass heavy. So if you go by that as your golden standard, then you're going to be overcompensating for the overly bassiness of your sound. The next best thing is studio monitors, right? My Yamaha studio monitors. But then it's also weird when you don't feel, like when you're playing through an actual Marshall stack, you feel the power. You feel that air moving. Without those, it's always gonna leave you kind of searching for something else. But when it comes to live sound on stage, the best option I can give you is, first of all, relying on your monitors. Nowadays, everybody's got a monitor. If you're a guitarist, then you definitely have your own personal monitor to hear yourself. But then to kind of have that power that you can only get through an actual amplifier, what I recommend you do is to use the loop of your amplifier, an actual guitar amplifier like this one. So not every single amplifier has got an effects loop. what is an effects loop? There are two stages. I'm just going to use simple kind of terms for those who don't know what it is, and forgive me if you know this already. So basically, your amplifier, the first stage, it colors your sound. You can EQ the mids, the highs, the lows, the amount of gain, how distorted the sound is, and then that sound can be cranked up, can be loud, or can be not as loud. So when you are using an effects loop, you are bypassing the first stage. So you only have the loud kind of amplification of your sound. So right now I connected the 1/4 inch output to my effects loop, the return. And as you can see on this amp in particular, the controls don't do a darn thing. See, everything is turned off. You see this? Everything is off. But as you can see, the sound comes through. So your amp, most of the amps, once you go into the effects loop, your amp just amplifies at one volume. So how do you control it? And the answer is global EQ. Right now I'm actually, what you heard was with global EQ disabled, but if something is overbearingly like bassy or high, you can just simply go to your high cut or low cut. Start with that. And by the way, see, as you can see, as I promised you, it applies to 1/4 inch output only. So in short, there you have it. In my opinion, and based on the conversations I've had with people, running your guitar through an actual combo amp or amp plus a speaker cabinet, it makes everything feel more traditional, more familiar. And believe it or not, there's some musicians who actually need to hear the guitar. I was actually doing a sound check recently, and the trombone player asked the monitor mix guy to turn up me in his monitor. So there you have it. Don't think it's just for us guitarist jerks who need to hear it. But again, once you go into the effects loop of your amplifier, it becomes colorless. You can't control anything. It's just one volume, most of them, right? One volume, and you control the loudness of your sound with the volume knob. If it's not loud enough for whatever reason, then by all means go and change the output level, because as we reviewed, the different output levels are microphone, instrument, and line is the loudest one. In my case, it's set to instrument, and my little PV Classic 30 is plenty loud. Like, this is it on half, and it's freaking loud, and it's not even a solo setting. Very, very loud. But if it needs to be louder, then you can try changing the output level to line. And again, this is, in my opinion, the ultimate way to set up your processor. The left and the right XLRs go to the front of the house. Then in order for you to hear yourself, you use a combo amplifier that has an effects loop. If you don't have an effects loop, then if you have a really, really, really clean amplifier like a Fender Twin, you can just simply plug it in there. If not, maybe using a keyboard amplifier is your next bet, because the keyboard amplifiers are very neutral and they have an EQ built in. If not, then don't have one, don't have an amplifier on stage, just rely on the monitors. It's perfectly fine. You gotta realize this. Bands have been playing without tube amps on stage for a very long time. Rush, for example, they've been using speaker emulators. So there you have it. There you go. Hope I made sense, and please share with me if you have any questions, if you have better approaches to what I'm suggesting. Thanks a lot. Bye.